Someone mentioned I should cover Benson Boone. I seldom cover boy pop stars, mainly because we haven't had a commercially or critically successful new one since Lil Nas X, who has unfortunately fizzled out. Honestly, this year has been a wash in terms of top 40 music. We still have Espresso, the song of last summer, charting, and no undeniable song of the summer. It might be because everyone and their mom dropped last year, creating a power vacuum of sorts as we wait for the usual suspects to come out of retirement. Benson Boone's definitely taking advantage of it. His second album, American Heart, dropped a little over a year since last year's Fireworks and Rollerblades, something expected for a burgeoning pop star trying to avoid a one-way ticket to the Kia Asylum. So you guys know the drill. I'm gonna do a background section, overall thoughts, and a track by track. Okay, so who is this guy? I'll be honest, I really didn't know much about Boone, despite Beautiful Things being one of the most successful songs of the decade. I actually hadn't heard it in full until recently. Boone started his career through TikTok, as most artists do now, eventually getting on American Idol but leaving early. Boone would catch the attention of Imagine Dragons frontman Dan Reynolds, who signed him onto his label under Warner, and his first single, Ghost Town, actually charted on the Hot 100. Boone's first and so far only hit is Beautiful Things, an explosive track that peaked at 2 on the charts, going 5 times platinum. It was one of the earlier singles for Fireworks and Rollerblades, his debut album, which hit the top 6 in the US. He'd go on to have some smaller hits, but pretty much be defined by Beautiful Things. He actually got my attention for being chosen as one of the openers for Taylor Swift's Eras shows at the Wembley Stadium last year, though I do think his real breakout moment recently was doing flips at the Grammys in a blue jumpsuit complete with a crotch grab. Benson Boone also has a lot of detractors, so much so that his Mr. Electric Blue video brings it up jokingly, though I do think it comes off as a little too defensive. Calling attention to your hate train can be a fun moment, but it also calls attention to the fact that people actually hate you. I am not Boone's target demographic. Honestly, I sort of view him as the industry's placeholder of sorts, while Harry Styles has gone AWOL for the last few years. Both of them actually have some pretty powerful voices, similar aesthetics, and overlap with listeners. In some ways, he actually kind of reminds me of Ava Max, Warner Music's attempt at trying to engineer their own Lady Gaga when Gaga had gone on a pop hiatus. Both Boone and Max have passionate supporters and quite a bit of talent, but weirdly enough, they just don't have that interview-ready charisma to supplant or diversify away from their clear inspirations. I don't mean this as shade, but rather an observation. I've actually come around on Max, and perhaps when Boone develops a truly unique niche for himself, I might turn around for him too. Occasionally, I'd actually see him not realizing I was seeing him due to some gay mutuals thirsting after his thirst traps, which kind of put me off from him initially because he's gone on record to whine about having to show his body to get attention, despite his album covers both being scantily clad. But whatever, I'm not here to judge him or score him on that, I'm here to talk about the music. I've seen a few clips of his Coachella set, and he's objectively actually a really good performer with stage presence. All the flips and stuff that he does has become a trademark for him, and he's really young too, so he has some time to grow as an artist. We need more boys in pop, so I'm not going to root against Boone. He's generally hungry for success, and I think we need to see more of that in the industry. Which brings me to my overall thoughts on the album. I took my time and actually listened to both Fireworks and Rollerblades and American Heart, and I have to say that they're fine records for what they are, commercial pop music meant to go in one ear and out the other. Though I will say that American Heart definitely felt like a rushed and underdeveloped record compared to his debut. It's very clear that the label wanted to capitalize and keep Boone relevant, and sadly the music suffers for that. Many of the tracks lack the build-up or follow-through that the predecessors' tracks have. You can tell from the album length alone, this album just runs 10 tracks at a breezy 30 minutes. The longest song on this record is Man and Me, which is about 3 minutes and 48 seconds, and that's actually the highlight of the record for me because it's a fully built out song. Boone said that this album was written in just 17 days, and unfortunately it shows because the album feels undercooked. Bridges don't quite bridge, melodies don't really go anywhere. Mama Song is one of the attempts to really showcase his work as a lyricist, but it comes off as a little trite and stilted. Many of the songs really feel like first drafts of songs that could really be great, great. But the songwriting really lets us down. At times, I was reminded of that really corny song that Wanda's kids sing about ice cream in Doctor Strange 2. The whole Springsteen Americana vibes also feel really superficial. Many people say that this album is cohesive, which I think is true, but that's a downside because cohesion isn't quality. If something is consistently mid, it is still mid. The album feels really generic, and honestly, a lot of that comes from the production side. Much of this album was produced by Jason Evigan, whose discography spans post-Sellout, Maroon 5, and quite a few Disney alums. Another producer was Evan Blair, who worked on Beautiful Things and produces quite a bit for someone named Nessa Barrett. I'm getting old, I do not know who that is. One surprising collaborator on the record was Malay, who produced on Lord's Solar Power. American Heart, like its predecessor, fell a little flat for me because they don't quite translate Boone's onstage presence to the studio recordings really well. At least for me, the mixing doesn't emphasize his voice well. Sometimes the instrumentals would drown him out. One track I felt that in particular was Mr. Electric Blue, which seems like it would be a great track live, but on the recording, it feels like he's fighting against the music rather than letting it elevate him. Mythical Magical is the obvious would-be hit on the record, already having been a single. It interpolates Olivia Newton-John's iconic Physical to a great degree, and it actually feels distinct from Beautiful Things. I think it's actually a good direction for him, but there's way too many ballads on here when he needed more tracks like the opener, Sorry I'm Here for Someone Else. My last note is that it's kind of ironic that Imagine Dragons played a role in creating his career. His music hews to the good and bad of their music, though honestly the biggest sin of this album on American Heart is that it's kind of boring. Boone deserves a better team behind him. All the gimmicks and all the shown skin and the flash and stuff, all of that cannot cover up middling music. And now here's the track-by-track review. The album's opener, Sorry I'm Here for Someone Else, is actually a really good track to start off the album. It reminded me a little bit of early One Direction, like a lost cut from the Take Me Home album. The song's lyrics are pretty serviceable and playful. The chorus is understated but effective. I think his voice has restraint. He doesn't go for the belting that he's known for, and the song does get a second wind towards the end, but it ends so abruptly. I wish we had another chorus. Mr. Electric Blue has this classic Americana retro pop vibe, but the song is really anticlimactic considering the build-up in it. I was expecting it to go somewhere else, but the chorus sort of dies down in an unsatisfying way. The instrumental also drowns him out during one of the verses where they put a filter over his voice. This song kind of sounds like a song that'd be in a montage for a teen movie about a bunch of kids trying to save a hotel for dogs. It's cute. Man and Me is another retro pop play, and this is one of the few songs I'd actually save off the record. It feels really distinct from the other tracks. It shows off his smooth voice in the pre-chorus before going for a balanced chorus that's catchy. The bridge does what a bridge should do and shakes up the song, letting him let loose a little bit for a pretty emotionally effective breakdown before going back into the hook. I see this as a good single choice. Mythical Magical's hooky. I think it's one of the more unique tracks in how whimsical he tries to make it. Even the song structure feels a little wonky. The pre-chorus itself actually really sets up the song well, and the hook actually feels like a post-chorus because he plays with that melody so well that you perceive the pre-chorus as the hook. The song still remains pretty toothless. It's a radio hit. It will go down smooth. It's the kind of song that you hear when you're shopping at Target and you go, wait a second, and Shazam the song, and then you go, whoa, that was Benson? Wow. I'm kind of shocked that it didn't do better on the charts. Reminds Me of You is the first slow jam track, which is kind of a bummer because those 4 tracks really make you think this is going to be a poppy album. It's a momentum killer. The chorus is reminiscent of his shouty singing style. The lyrics are extremely piecemeal and unfortunately pretty cliche. The track's pleasant filler that would work well on a Love Island recap sequence. The bridge's cadence actually reminded me of an upbeat version of Olivia Rodrigo's Driver's License Bridge, which I thought was neat, but then the song ends on such an anticlimactic gentle note that it feels incomplete. Mama Song is sweet. It's a personal track that's an ode to his family. You actually learn quite a bit about him through the lyrics. I thought the production was solid, but it's a little jarring in the track listing. By the time I was done with the album, I forgot the song existed. I Wanna Be the One You Call is another sweet track that's slow. This one's a syrupy, quiet track about wanting to be there for a love interest. This one had a Harry's House sort of vibe to it. Towards the end, it finally gets its teeth and becomes a little bit more upbeat, but by then I was tuned out. The key change at the end almost saves the song, but it ends so abruptly that you're left empty, which is a common theme on this album. Wanted Man was around the time I realized this album probably was not for me. Boone's voice sounds great, but the production and subject matter felt like reheated leftovers. It almost felt like he was a cover band for himself. Take Me Home is actually the one slow track that I felt worked. You really get a sense of nostalgia that he's trying to sell here. The lyrics actually feel really well developed, like a personal letter that's really addressed to a real person and not some generic every woman that he needs to sell music to. The restraint on this track feels purposeful. The switch up in the middle feels like it was properly earned and not some attempt to wake the listener up from boredom. Young American Heart is the closer, and I actually found it to be the most refreshing track. It has a nice quality to it where he takes the storytelling from the last track and applies it to something upbeat. The piano in the chorus actually does help sell the Springsteen vibes. The track really has this youthful, free, naive energy that you could tell he was trying to go for but could not sell me on. This one's about a car accident his friends and him went through while traveling, and it captures the feeling of growing up really well, and it felt like a good diversion away from the unconvincing romantic tracks earlier. All in all, this album's not a complete disaster, but it definitely feels more like a grab bag of would-be hits and quite a few clunkers. There are some interesting directions I could see him going off in next album, but this album's cooked. I'm giving it a 5.2 out of 10. I think half of the album is good, but then the other half's kind of whatever. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Let me know below in the comments what you think about Boone, his persona, this album, if you listen to him. I normally really don't cover artists like him, but someone was like, you gotta go listen to this. And I was like, well, no one else is releasing, so why not? I will be back to review Lord next week. A shout out to my members. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. A shout out to my subscribers. I do everything for you guys. I love you. And yeah, I'll see you next week.